Lucas, modal shift is a challenge for most cities, in particular when it comes to freight. How are you thinking about freight? What are your goals for freight in your city?
I think two major issues. We don't use problems. So first of all, we are a very old city. In the city center, it's from medieval times, so before motorization, and a lot of restaurants, shops, and deliveries in the access restriction zone, because whole this old town area is access restriction zone, is a huge challenge, and it raised, in my opinion, after the pandemic. And the second is couriers with also deliveries, because also after pandemic, a lot of shopping goes to the internet, and now we order everything through the internet.
And in terms of some of the things that you've tried, have you run some pilots, some innovation trials?
Yeah, we got right now a pilot that's just starting with the European funds project of the hub with bicycles, cargo bicycles, to serve these old town areas, these very narrow streets, so the owners of the shops can bring deliveries to this place by small lorry, for example, and then change it into the cargo bicycle and go whenever they want to the city center.
And finally, what are some of the big pain points? Where do you think you need the innovation?
Well, innovation, I think how we correspond between mobility and what is the expectations of, for example, restaurants, and how you have to deliver, for example, the food. It's not so easy, it's not so how we think it is, that you just put the things, but you need special conditions, for example, for that. So also restaurants, you have, they are very focused on a very specific products. Yes, it's their handmade and so on, and that's why that's a huge challenge, how to correspond with that. You cannot make just a typical usual service.
What are your goals for freight in your city?
Yeah, when looking at freight in our city, and since we're a big city with a port, our two main concerns are, of course, congestion. And congestion comes not only from freight circulation in the city, but also irregular parking, irregular use of the city for freight activities, and also the issue of emissions. Both pollutants and carbon emissions are a big issue throughout the city, and specifically in certain areas where we have very intensive pollution issues that we find that are partially a result of freight activity. So those are the main focuses.
And what sort of things have you tried to address the adverse impact of freight?
Well, we have a pilot that is in the making. We are establishing a pilot consolidation center in the center of the city in underground parking. We want to sort of assess that possibility, and we have been studying the possibility also of doing, decarbonized last mile, or doing small logistic hubs within the center city. And those are pilots that are sort of already in the making, in the process. But our focus will be on, during 2024, we are developing our sustainable urban mobility plan, and we have a SOLP also in parallel, and this is also being debated at metropolitan level, because this is an issue that is not just from within the city. It has big ramifications territorially. So we're planning on assessing and planning for the changes, and then going more intensively on regulation and specific municipal venues and resources for that support.
And specifically, what are your big pain points? What are the areas of challenge?
Well, space is a challenge, especially for heavy freight. Because it's where you actually do the consolidation that matters, and there are benefits to doing it outside, but then you have a big area to actually decarbonize and make sustainable, and if you do it inside, we don't have space. So I would say that's the big issue, and the one that we have found most difficult to solve.
So Lola, multimodality is a challenge for most cities, but when we think about freight, there's lots of adverse impacts. How are you thinking about freight in your city?
The freight in our city has an important impact. For example, it produces the 11% of the congestion in the city and 20% of the pollution. So we are working to improve and optimize the urban freight distribution in Madrid. We have a strategy, and we are working, for example, with an application for the urban freight distribution in a smart way, and you can book your space in the application. Also, we are working with the micro hubs in the city and with electric vans to open the timetable for make the delivery. So little by little, we think that we need to optimize the urban freight situation.
And you've touched on some of the things that you're trying in the city. What are your specific challenge areas? Where are your pain points? Where would you want the innovation to come from next?
In relation with urban freight, yes. The innovation, I think that we can take advantage of the technology to optimize the space, no? Because I think that one of the biggest problems is the space in big cities. And with, for example, with the application, we can book the space and you avoid the different trips from the urban freight vans, and with this you can optimize the distribution in the city. And of course, the innovation is everywhere. So we are working with different kind of micro hubs and other tools in relation with this.
Very good. Thank you.